Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. And you know how we had that new faction Unity Dwarf revealed yesterday, and I was saying, hey, we don't know anything about the fusion. Well, it's just a few hours after that. I've just finished up some D&D with my friends, and I was like, hey, what is this news ping on the Raid Shadow Legends content creator section? What is going on? It's the new fusion. We've got full details for her. She's a fragment fusion, and starting on Monday. So we only have a few days. I think it's the 10th. I'll get you the full details of that in a second. And she's also a partner fusion. She does have a partner champion. We're going to be breaking him down as well. I think it's pretty clearly themed after like Esmeralda and the Hunchback of Notre Dame. You'll see what I mean. So let's jump into her kit straight away. We'll break down the kits and I'll give you the info on the fusion. We'll break down his kit as well. And then we'll do the fusion details after. So Esme the Dancer, she's a Force Affinity legendary support. We're the Barbarian faction. Very much reminiscent of Armand's, for sure. Let's take a look at her kit. So Blade Juggler, her A1 attacks one enemy, puts increased attack on all allies for one turn, the big version, of course. Solid A1. It's sort of, increased attack is often like a luxury buff, I would say. You really do want, it's sort of almost necessary for some characters, but then lots of characters don't care at all. It can be tricky to fit into some teams. Having it on an A1 is nice. Maybe she'll be fairly reliant on ally attack to have good uptime on that for your damage dealers. We'll see. Earth Dancer, her A2. 4 goes to a 3-turn cooldown when booked. Attacks all enemies, has a 75 booking to 100% chance of placing, weaken, and block buffs for 2 turns. Also, decreases the turn meters of all enemies by 20%. If Modo of the Peal is, again, it's the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like the Hunchback ringing the bell, yeah, is on the same team, steals 20% of each enemy's turn meter instead. So this is very much like Ugo, right? Ugo is AoE decrease defense and block buffs. She is AoE weaken and block buffs. So I think this is a really solid A2. Obviously, turn meter reduction and turn meter stealing doesn't work for Hydra, where this obviously jumps out immediately as being good. For wave-based content, it's very solid. And I'll say this right now, I'm a little bit skeptical about this fusion. I do, because I've obviously looked through these kits already. I do think that she and her partner have some kind of they do have a couple of really intriguing parts to their kit. Some fun things, some unique things for sure. I also feel like it's a bit like Skeletor, right? Where Skeletor, in my opinion, was very clearly designed for Chimera, but he released before Chimera came out. So people were farming those videos. You could get a Skeletor sucks video out every single day before Chimera released. You can make big money. I feel like it's sort of a similar thing with her, where I'm suspicious that she might be fairly much designed for the new Faction Wars, is my thought. In whatever form that takes. I have no idea, because I've missed all the developer meetings recently, so I've got no clue. But yeah, she might be a Faction War champ. Anyway, let's go back to her kit. That's her A2. It's a good A2. It's not an Armand's full turn meter steal, but it's good. Blessing of the Sands. 5-turn goes to only a 4-turn cooldown, which is a bit disappointing, but puts increased accuracy and increased speed on all allies for 2 turns, the big versions. Has a 75 books to 100% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies. If Modo of the Peal's on the same team, it will steal all the buffs instead. So yeah, again, it's a decent move. It's a sort of a Lady Kimmy-esque move. Increase accuracy and speed. No turn meter boost in there, which makes it, I think, a bit awkward for Arena. Like, increase accuracy and speed. Quite nice with bomb champs. But without the turn meter boost, that to me doesn't feel as good as Kimmy. And she's already a little bit niche, I would think. But it is a decent combo. Yeah, I mean, one concern would be, again, without a buff extender, you're getting those buffs on a 2-turn duration on a 4-turn cooldown. It's not super reliable. Now, there's a lot more buff extenders in the game these days than there used to be. It's a lot more common, but something to bear in mind. AoE buff steal as well is nice. Yeah, I will say, she doesn't do anything with the buffs that she steals. Like when Odin steals your buffs with his A3, he can spread them around with his passive. It's pretty nasty. She's not doing anything with buffs that she steals. It's just sort of helping her a bit. But, it's still nice. Then Beguiling Moves, her passive. So the passive effect always works, which is when hit, has a 15% chance of randomly changing the attacker's critical hits to weak, normal, or strong hits. If Modo of the Peal is on the same team, the chance increases to 30%. I think that's actually a very solid passive. A nice little bit of survivability. Again, stopping something being a crit massively reduces the damage you're going to take. So it's a low chance, but it can be effective. It's not too bad. Then the active effect has a 1-turn cooldown, so it can happen basically once per turn she takes. Whenever she is hit, again, once per turn she takes, increases the turn meter of the ally with the highest attack by 50%. I do like that. That is very cool. And then she's got a 19% ally speed in all battles aura. So putting it all together, let's go back to what I said, where I'm thinking of like, where is this kit good? She's decent for Hydra, for sure. Because you can fit in an ally attack in your team, then she's bringing increased attack. AoE weaken and block buffs is great. Increased accuracy, increased speed, pretty nice. If I've got a buff extender, it's reasonably likely she could be the increased speed champ. And yeah, she's going to be turn meter boosting my attack-based nuker as well. I mean, it might outrun the increased attack. It might get a little clunky, but, you know, she seems good and a decent aura. She's a decent champ for Hydra. She's good. I don't think she's Mad Hatter level at all, but she's good. However, I am thinking, what could this new faction war stuff be? I feel like she's a little clunky in Arena as well. It doesn't quite make sense in Arena in my eyes, but I think faction wars, imagine waves of enemies with really high stats, really tough enemies. Okay, if I'm against really tough waves of enemies, then yeah, AoE weaken, block buffs, and turn meter steal. Really nice. Buff stripping, buff stealing, perhaps even increase accuracy could be really essential if there's high accuracy requirements. Okay, really nice. And then, yeah, maybe we've got her in with Farrakhan the Fat or something from her faction. She's giving us the increased attack. Okay. Slap her in a provoke set, right? With buff stealing and the weaken, right? And, you know, she's got the AoE as well. Get her provoking. She starts getting hit. She can tank up the hits. She starts boosting your attack-based damage dealer as well. Okay. And the speed in all battles aura might be good for a faction. I'm like, yeah, seems very much like a faction crypt style champion, but obviously faction crypts are years old at this point. They're not current content, but we know a new one is coming. That's sort of my initial thoughts of her. She doesn't seem great for Siege. I think barbarians are disgusting, like for Siege, or if they do put in any faction limitations in Arena. I mean, barbarians alone, you've got Alaz, you've got Armans, you've got Freya's exceptional, Xena's decent, Alsgor's decent, Loki's very good, Urska's okay, Tuhanak's okay, Odin is really good. It's a fairly stacked faction. And by the way, her partner is, and Valkyrie's good too, sorry. Her partner is, I forgot Gregor as well. There's a lot of competition in the barbarians. It's a pretty stacked faction. And her partner is not a barbarian, which is a bit, I guess you got Jetney in there with Alsgor as well. Let's look at her partner. Let's see what we think. This handsome fella, Modo of the Peal. Again, like I said, Hunchback of Notre Dame. He's Ogren Tribes, Force Affinity, attack-based legendary. It's an interesting affinity. I think it's pretty good. I'd say, like, you know, magic affinity in Arena is probably the most common right now. The force affinity is pretty decent. You've got a good amount of force and magic champs in there. It's not too bad, actually. So that's kind of, and they're a bit more rare. They are a bit more rare. We get magic nukers like every second day. They're like, hey, you guys want a magic nuker? You're like, oh my god, another one? Force nukers, definitely more rare. And he is attack-based, which I think does combo well with, obviously, her passives. No surprise, really. Let's take a look. Skull Clapper, A1. Attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 50. That books to 70% chance of placing decreased defense for 2 turns. Again, I do feel the 2 pair together well with ally attack. It's a good A1, but it's only an A1. Ally attack needed to max it. Ear Splitter, 4 turn goes to a 3 turn cooldown. AoE attack, 75 books to 100% chance of stun. So a 3 turn cooldown AoE stun. Puts an extra hit on enemies under stun. If Esme the Dancer's on the same team, will always place an extra hit and ignore 20% of each enemy's defense. Well, the defense ignore is really good. I mean, it does mean if they resist, which is certainly possible. He's only an attack-based champion. Certainly possible they could resist. He'll still do it anyway. They might have block debuffs or stone skin or whatever. It might not hit. So getting the double hit guaranteed is pretty decent. In theory, she's bringing like increased accuracy and buff stripping and block buffs and stuff. Like, you would think she's setting him up pretty well to land the stun anyway. But at least it makes it consistent. That defense ignore certainly is very strong. So seems like a very solid AoE. Yeah, pretty darn solid. Peal of Breaking, 5 turn goes to a 4 turn cooldown. Also an AoE. Ignore shield. Now this is, I think, the spiciest part. Damage increases by 75% while attacking enemies under stone skin buffs. Now, there's some good things about this and some very bad things. If this attack removes 1 or more stone skin buffs, grants this champion an extra turn. I think that's potentially very powerful. Come in a big slam, smash their stone skin, another turn, and then AoE slam them again, and potentially be stunning them and ripping them apart, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'll come back to what's worrying about this in a second. I think it's fairly obvious. Other events might be needed for obvious reasons. Beloved Companion, his pacifist finish his kit first. Whenever this champion kills an enemy, places a stun debuff on the enemy with the highest turn meter for 2 turns. Once per skill. Now that's juicy. That's spicy. He's certainly going to be killing people. He's got a lot of damage. It seems like he's going to be hitting very hard. Putting a 2-turn stun, that is very nice. And there's no cooldown on that. It just happens every time. That's pretty bonkers, actually. If Esme the Dancer's on the same team, his skills will ignore 50% of each enemy's resistance. And if she's on the same team, puts an intercept stack on this champion at the start of his turn. So he's pumping out stuns, makes him vulnerable, obviously, to polymorph. Intercept, not going to happen. Obviously, intercept generally good. It will protect him from all crowd control. It's not just polymorph. It's good for everything. 30% attack in all battles aura. I think Modo the Peal is actually looking pretty solid, and I would certainly expect there's a good chance we could see a Deck of Fate or something like that for this champion. I would not be surprised to have a fairly pricey guaranteed event. And now here is the other thing. They like to do soul events for these champions. And if we jump to a 5-star legendary over here, doesn't matter which one. Obviously, cracking roots with his A3 seems like it might almost be needed. It might be almost necessary. Increase the damage inflicted by this champion to stone skin. 20%, 40%, 60%, up to 100%. It's very unlikely they'll give us a 6-star soul. They never have done that before, but it's pretty darn likely they will do some sort of massive Hero's Path or something, or a Titan event, or something big, giving the soul for Esme, and probably also for this guy. I think they did something very similar for, what are the Sacred Order, Hansel and Gretel. They did something similar. Yeah, I'm like, this is the downside. How will he actually be able to smash Stone Skin on his A3? Or does he need a 5 or 6-star blessing in order to do it? Now, that being said, if you do get that 5 or 6-star blessing, I think there's a lot of potential. Like, if you are doing double damage to Stone Skin, and then he's doing another bonus 75%, I mean, yeah, you're probably going to slam it and get another turn, and you'll still benefit from the blessing with your other attack as well. Yeah, not bad. And if Esme is there, maybe the first hit of this A2 breaks their Stone Skin, and then he gets the extra hit anyway, and maybe kills them. Like, it gets pretty powerful there. So yeah, he's interesting. We'll see what his stats are. We'll see how hard. Obviously, don't know how hard he'll actually hit. I do think, extra turn in there. Ignoring shields is nice. Extra damage to Stone Skin is nice. This is weird. This definitely screams like he is an arena champion. You do not really see Stone Skin in any PvE waves. That sort of undermines, I suppose, my faction war theory. They're more of a faction war thing. But then again, they're not in the same faction. So I think it is possible the new faction wars, they might mix and match factions a bit. Like, there's no reason they couldn't. They could do anything. They could certainly do it at some point in the future. It's certainly a little suspicious to me that we've got a two different factions pairings, and they've just buffed Ultan and Oella, who are Dark Elf Sylvan Watcher pair, non the same factions, and Vlad and Constantine, again, Sacred Order and Undead, they're not the same faction. They just buffed them. Kind of weird. And I'm thinking new faction wars is coming out, and they're buffing pairs that are in separate factions. Maybe there's gonna be something funky going on, or maybe something funky in Arena with limitations. Who the heck knows? Arena seasons. They could do any. It's very much a question mark. So it's up to you, I guess, as well. How much do you hate that or love that? I mean, you might love it. Ooh, future potential. Is that enough to chase a fusion pairing? Or is it absolutely terrible? You're like, never chase something for potential, only chase something for stuff that is certain to give you value. I think Modo actually looks pretty good. He looks like a good damage dealer. He's got no inherent survivability, which is certainly a problem for live arena. That's a big drawback. But he seems relatively good, actually. And Esme the Dancer, I think she's okay. I feel like I'm not super in love with her, honestly. Her kit feels a little bit clunky to me. I think she's good. I think she's good. She's not bad by any means. She's good. I'm not sure if she's amazing, to be honest. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if she is amazing. I don't know. Let me know what you think about them. I'll obviously be doing it on my main. Here's the question: for my main account, I'll do it for sure, and I'll probably pick up Modo as well because why the heck not? It's my main account, right? Like there's basically very little opportunity cost lost for going for them. Like I've been playing the game for 4 or 5 years. We've got tons of resources stockpiled. It's really not a problem. Um, for my free to play, probably not that interested, to be honest. It's unlikely I'm building a second Hydra team, and I'm not going to have legendary books for her. You'd be okay. Like, she wouldn't be bad, but I don't know. That's a 3-month challenge account, bear in mind. On a 3-month challenge account, is it worth the cost versus potentially being able to 6-star perhaps multiple other champions and like skipping all of her events? Don't know. It's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. I'm not overly sold, to be completely honest. But yeah, let me know what you think. Again, just to confirm, guys, it is starting on Monday, the 10th of February, and it will be a champion fragment event. That is good news. Fragment fusions are the easiest ones. You simply collect 100 of her fragments. It's very easy to track. You don't have to level up any food, like whatever fusion food to fuse up, and it's gone. And it's sort of just wasting your experience and your affinity potions. So it's easy to do, which is very, very good. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to certainly pick her up on my main. I will definitely try her out on the test server, obviously, as I always do when I've got access to her. And we'll see what she actually does. Certainly, I think Hydra is her main area. I'll probably focus on Hydra, and we'll probably try the pair of them together in Arena as well. I mean, certainly, they're not going to be good for Siege because... I mean, this is the sort of champion you think would be good for Siege, but because they're in different factions, it just doesn't work super well. They wouldn't be bad, but you'd have to use them on normal posts, right? Whereas, like, I don't know, Sifi Rotus, you can slap them into an undead-only post, for example. I don't know if that's meta or not, but, just as an example. But, yeah, there you go. Esme the Dancer and Modo the Peal, of the Peal. Beauty and the Beast, I guess. Wrong Disney movie. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.